Welcome to the Career Wanderlust podcast, your compass for new career horizons. Today, we are talking with Isobel Petersen. Isobel is a talent acquisition and operations leader specializing in corporate communications and scaling businesses. She is currently the head of talent operations at Milltown Partners, a transatlantic reputation and policy advisory firm. Isobel joined Milltown as a junior communications executive, working across a diverse range of sectors, including technology, VC, education, and private clients. In 2018, she transitioned into the firm's first full time in house talent acquisition role, where she has played a pivotal role in the company's growth to 150 employees across London, New York, San Francisco, Brussels, and Dublin. She also helped establish Milltown's DEI steering group, a commitment program. She oversees onboarding and offboarding processes, talent data management, and leads various operational initiatives to enhance the firm's overall talent strategy. Amazing. Beyond her work at Milltown, Isobel is a mentor with Good Work, a UK based organization that focuses on career development and workplace impact. I would love to learn more about that. Isobel, thank you for joining us on the Career Wanderlust podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for reaching out and having me.
Oh, I love it. It's so fun getting to know people's different impactful moments or pieces of advice that really impacted them. I'd love to know what is something that has been really impactful for you. What's been like your favorite career advice and why?
It's one of those things, isn't it? When I reflect on advice, you inevitably get something almost every day from your
Right.
colleagues or your friends.
Mhm.
And then it's trying to choose the one thing. Well, you always think you should be writing it down. But when I was reflecting on this, I think the thing that stood out to me is something that one of my more senior colleagues who I've worked with for many years, she joined the business before me, I think. She's called Jenny here in the UK. And she said to me that I didn't always need to have the answers in order to be worthwhile of being in a room. I could ask the right questions. It's a
That
good
gave
one.
me chills. That's a good one.
It's a really, really good one. So if you're, I think it has stuck with me. She probably said that to me at some point in maybe 2017 or 2018. And it has applied in so many different circumstances. You know, when you're managing someone new and trying to figure out a dynamic, or you're stepping into more authority, or you're handling an unexpected crisis or a new project or something. I think reminding yourself that you can ask the questions, bring together a group of people and hash out the kind of what the answer should look like, you are playing an invaluable role in the whole dynamic of a group. And I find that sometimes quite hard. I like to talk, I bring a lot of energy to meetings. And so it was really good advice. But I think the people who are often quiet, but really, really curious are the ones where when you leave a meeting, you think, gosh, that was that one thing that they said just kind of made all the difference. So that has
Mhm.
been a great bit of advice that I try to live by.
Oh, I love this advice so much because it is an important reminder. So many of us feel that way. We feel like we need to have all the answers. And if we don't have the answers, we feel like there was something wrong or we
Yeah.
should have. And a lot of times when people feel that way, they'll make up an answer. But
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
which
That's the other thing is, right? Like the other bit of advice which is related to that is you can just say, actually, I don't know. I'm going to get back to you.
exactly.
Or let me find out. Or
Mhm.
I sometimes get that in the recruitment kind of discussion when an interviewer has said, oh my goodness, as well, I think I might have really misled a candidate because I just felt like I had to answer their question about the firm. I said, well, that's my job. You can always just say no and it's
Yes.
completely fine. You can say no,
Yes.
redirect them, and it's all good.
I love it. That was something that was really powerful to me too, being told that it's okay not to have the answer and that you can just say, you know what, I don't have the answer, but I'm going to look it up and I'm going to find out. And I find this to be a powerful thing in general for us humans at this point in life, right? Like we don't have to have all the answers. And it's better for us to say, you know what, let me look into that, look into it, really get that right answer and get back to you as opposed to just shooting something out because
Yeah. Try exactly that. Like hold yourself back. It doesn't always have to be moving really, really quickly and kind of being the loudest or being the quickest to respond to something and figure it out, but actually putting that little bit of extra time in and slowing yourself down. But it's an ego check. You have to feel I suppose practice makes perfect, right? Like you have to feel that sometimes there's a bit of humility in saying, actually, I really don't know something. And that's okay. And not kind of leaving the room and thinking, oh my goodness.
Well, and as a reminder, that's it's a sign of intelligence, to be honest. I mean, it
Mhm,
is. It's a sign of
mhm.
intelligence to know when you don't know something and to know how to go ask the right questions to find it out. This is what we all need to remember. We don't none of us actually have all the answers.
I know, as hard as it is to believe,
Yeah.
don't have all the answers.
Yes.
Think
And I
of
say this just because I'm sure everyone knows, I have people in my life who are really uncomfortable with not having the answers. So they will come and they will say things with such authority that you're just like, "Oh, that must be true." And they're actually blowing smoke. It's
yes, absolutely. Well, that's I suppose, especially in the world of communications, which I know is like part of your professional world as well. Like you have to make sure you're interrogating a good client advisory relationship is one that is interrogating what the other is saying and what they're putting in front of you. And I think like then that kind of feeds back into that question and answer dynamic as well, as if, as a recruitment professional, I'm an advisor to my business, to the employees, my employees are advisors to their clients. You're an advisor to me. Like there's lots of advice, but to be an advisor, you need to make sure that you are listening and asking. And I think that has been, yeah, I try and hold on to that one.
yeah. Yeah, love it. I think it's great. So now what about a story? Because I love a good story. Is there something that's happened to you in your career that ended up being an impactful lesson? And it's something that by sharing, other people might learn something by listening.
I have I I actually gave a speech at my I don't know, in America, maybe it was the commencement speech, I guess, like, at
Mhm.
the end of high school, and I was invited back and did a talk last year, and so I kind of took this
Very
story
cool.
from that because I was trying to think about what am I gonna tell these amazing young women who are 18 and figure themselves out way more than I probably know myself. And I was trying to reflect on my career a little bit, and it all comes down to like saying yes. And by that, I mean like you can have a life well lived, I think, by saying yes. There's so much to look forward to that we don't know. There's so much hardship that we don't know what's around the corner. And I've really never been someone to feel that connected to the idea of a career plan or a 10-year vision or a life plan. And I don't mean I've fallen into everything, but I do think that kind of some of the best things have happened when you are keeping your ears and eyes open to things and willing to give something a go or to kind of jump in. And so that was exactly what happened when I took on the in-house recruitment role. So it was like back in 2018 or thereabouts. And I joined Milltown, as you said in the intro, in November 2015. It's actually my 9-year anniversary this week, which is kind of
Oh, congratulations.
crazy. I know. This is quite having to talk about it. And I joined on the graduate comms side, but after a couple of years, was honestly just starting to think like, is corporate comms for me? Am
Mhm.
I as good as it as I can kind of see all of my colleagues being good for it? And uh, I was fairly open and I'd started thinking about what might come next, but I knew I was really motivated by the co-founders, by the leadership. And so that was at the heart of things like how do I keep working for something that is scaling and something that is run by really clever, hardworking, kind of kind people. And they offered the recruitment role to me. And it was with so much open-mindedness and kind of thoughtfulness from them and belief, I guess. And I just honestly, I think it took one evening to decide to say yes to that offer. And that has opened up working in talent, which really is going to be the foundation or has started to be the foundation of my whole career. There's just nothing more interesting. And I can take it down so many different kind of avenues. And I think the lesson of that, apart from having that little bit of like occasional courage to just say yes to an opportunity and not waste something, is actually opening up with some of these questions and doubts that you might have about your career can be really, really valuable. I think like it's a little bit bold. I really appreciate that it doesn't work in every workplace. You've got to have the right people around you who you can trust and who you can feel in a safe environment. But if there are people who are wiser than you, who have more experience, who have different experience, like you've only got one life and you only have one career. And so it's kind of up to us to get up and go to work every day. And so we may as well make that as good as it can be. And I think that if there are people that you can ask things of, then do it. And so what was slightly kind of youthful, like, aspiration of just being quite honest about questioning whether corporate comms was for me, I would say fundamentally helped indicate to the leadership that I had ambition in other spaces and that I could be
Mhm.
kind of used and coached in that way. So that has definitely been a lesson to me.
There's so much here to unpack. I'm curious, did you share that with your boss or your manager at that time that you were wondering or curious about other things?
I don't think I shared it with this CEO. I don't think I shared it with Jonathan, but I shared it with a couple of the other senior members of the team.
Mhm.
You know, if they were doing, I'm sure it would have
And then
influenced.
they brought you this other potential opportunity to shift
Yeah,
essentially.
they
That's
did.
fantastic, yeah.
Someone was leaving the business who'd done, she was an amazing office manager and had done a little bit of the recruitment on the side, but we were opening in San Francisco that summer and they came to me and said, we get the impression you're motivated more by the internal operations business than the client facing work. And you're kind of invested in that space. And you've got, you know, they said nice flattering things about
Mhm.
the skills I had, but you could learn recruitment because you can transfer your skills. And so, yeah, it
Oh,
was,
there's so much goodness here. I mean, like so many key elements of success, right? First, that self-awareness. I mean, you were paying attention to yourself. You're paying attention to things that you were enjoying, that you weren't enjoying, and you were questioning yourself. And I want to applaud you for that because a lot of people will get stuck. They'll just keep moving, plodding, if you will. And this is how people end up in careers where they're not really happy by just continuing to move forward in something, not really paying attention to those
uh,
little flags that pop up. So so I just want to say good for you for paying
yeah.
attention to yourself. And then for saying something, I mean, really, that there's so
Mhm.
much power in just saying out loud how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what it is that
Mhm.
you want. And so often by doing that, that's how we bring things into our universe, right? By actually, I mean, just speaking it out loud. And so by being honest with your managers, helped bring that in. And then when the opportunity comes, like you said, saying yes, that's just the big one. We have to say yes, even when it's scary or we're unsure or you're not quite. I mean, this is how we learn, right? This is by saying yes, we expose ourselves to different opportunities, responsibilities to learn about ourselves. Like, do I like this? Do I not like this? What is it that I like? What is it I don't like? Do I want to continue to doing more or less? What have you? I mean, these are all the questions that lead us to where we want to be. So,
Look,
it's
I think
really
that has to be. I think look, you have to. It all comes with there's always a time and a place, and sometimes there are moments where you can be a little bit more bold with your own career, and other times there aren't. But I think when you are in a headspace of like, I've got energy, I've got time, I've got security, I've got these people around me who are I'm lucky enough to be learning from. Just kind of go for it. It's one of the things that I love the most is when being in recruitment is so wonderful because you basically bring everyone into the business, then you've got an excuse to talk to everyone once they're in the business.
right.
So anytime I'm in the office, there's an excuse, you know who everyone is, and you can just hear and hear from them about what they're doing and pick their brains. And I think there's nothing more infectious than when someone, particularly if they're new to the business or are really junior in their career, like are kind of filling up with like ideas and questions and raising a hand to get stuck into things. And I think like the hope is even on the really hard weeks or even on the weeks where, as you say, sometimes there's plodding because you're not putting conscious thought into it. And sometimes there's plodding because you need to be plodding. But if you can, like, you know, make the most of the people around you and have those brimming ideas. And so I think that is, yeah, when I'm having a bit of a like, it's just another normal day. And then you go and find someone that will energize you and have a chat with them and ask them questions and share some of those concerns, as you were saying, like give it a go. And I do think it really, really pays off.
It definitely does. Yes. And have you seen that pay off for you in other ways throughout your career? Have you said yes in other ways and kind of
Mm. I mean, I said yes to this
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
I, I said yes to the podcast when you reached
Yeah. And
uh,
this is your first podcast, correct?
this podcast. So
It's a
then
big deal, you guys. It's a really big deal. The first podcast.
great. I do have many more microphones kind of opportunities. I think saying yes to this podcast, I think saying yes to taking on more management responsibilities
Mhm.
of other people and kind of I love people management, definitely not a perfect people manager by any stretch, of course. No one really is. But I think having the chance to build relationships with more junior people who maybe have a completely different set of, will definitely have a completely different set of skills from me, and being able to try and get in their world and be in partnership. And whenever those opportunities have come up, I've always said yes to those. I really, really love that kind of
Yes.
like coaching and leadership piece as well.
I'm curious, what do you think is most important when it comes to people management? Because let's be honest, this is a really, really important aspect to a successful company in general.
Right. And I was actually just reading Lattice have done their kind of big state of talent in 2025 report, which I would recommend
Hmm.
anyone to have check out. But this was like one of their key, the kind of manager and HR talent relationship. I will always learn how to do it better. I think active listening, which again, it comes back to my bit of advice from
Hmm.
Jenny, ask questions and then actually listen to what you're hearing. I think being a really active listener, so that it is in my view, and I've worked with some external coaches, which has been really valuable. But the key thing is like, you can't fix someone's whole life, and nor should you. It's not your job to help someone who, if they're suffering with something in their personal life and it influences their work. It's not your job
Hmm.
to give them a promotion. It's not your job to ensure they're staffed on an amazing project, but it is your job to help them um, ask the right questions, raise a hand, understand what is maybe stressing them out or causing them a load of excitement. And I think that active listening piece is the kind of underpinning of all of that. I also honestly think, and I've benefited from this from managers, like having someone that, without being, s- is still a champion, even if they're not fixing things. So sometimes you need someone who you feel that you can say to them, like, I've really struggled this week, or I've actually got some really nice feedback, and I just kind of want to tell someone that I've had this really
Right.
nice week. And like someone who is going to sit there and listen, or be on a video call, or be on Slack even, and just say, like, that is awesome. Like, I am
Exactly.
here to celebrate you and to shout people out. And I am a huge fan of the Slack shout out. And I will do it uninterrupted, because what is better than having someone, a colleague, someone you get along with and trust and hopefully even admire, saying to you, like, yes, that was an amazing email you sent, or that was a brilliant meeting that you run. So I think active listening and being someone's champion, while remembering, like, you don't have to be their fixer and their problem solver, and trying to keep that kind of balance in mind.
Yes. What I'm hearing is you become that safe space for them. It's a
I
safe
totally,
space.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can share with you the difficulties or struggles they're feeling, but they also can share with you the great things, and
Yeah.
you're going to listen, you're going to hear, you're going to respond to all of the different aspects coming in and be there for them in the ways they need. This is the key to people management for me here, right? This is what makes people happy in their work because they feel safe and heard and seen, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it. I sometimes wrestle with the concepts of bringing your whole self to work. I know there's like, everyone has an opinion on that phrase, and some
Yeah.
companies really live by it, and other companies really steer against it. I get
Uh-huh.
in the middle. I think my iteration of that is, you should be able to choose if you want to bring your whole self to work. And if a company culture and kind of environment and people management can give you that space, then
Listen.
you're good to go. And I think that's part of what we're both saying here about people management, is like, someone should be able to be their whole selves with you as a manager, but it's at their discretion. And
Yeah.
they don't have to tell you absolutely everything. But they can hopefully come to you and say, like, I really want to be able to get this grade in my next review, and can we figure out
Mhm.
steps to get there? And then you can help kind of hold them to account, motivate them and champion them, and get them there. But yeah,
Exactly. You're the key. You're helping them reverse engineer, figure out how to get there, take the steps that are neat, right? Yeah. And
that's
and the supporter. So and this is what we're all looking for. And you and I, we've worked with all kinds of managers. They're not always like that. But
that
I
is,
feel like we're on a path of where we're getting more people
yeah.
thinking about the best practices for people management and really bringing into to play a lot of new ways that maybe weren't the ways that was happening when I first started my career.
Yeah.
So,
I think so. And I think there's sometimes it can be like, enthusiasm can be mistaken for high quality, and enthusiasm to be a people manager is excellent. Every company needs that because whether you are a line manager or whether you're just managing them on one particular task or you're in a coach capacity, you can't do that without enthusiasm. But I do think that there are companies need to hold responsibility for saying, okay, this person is a people manager for the first time, and just
Right.
enthusiasm alone isn't going to make them feel good at it or make their manager kind of receive the wins of the whole thing. So actually some guidance and structure. And then, maybe some people are better suited to being individual contributors. And I think tapping into what is a good people manager and everything according to the values that they hold and the kind of career frameworks. And then some people are going to be great at that and other people are going to be great at other things. And that's okay as well.
And that's okay. That's an important distinction as well.
Uh-huh.
We all have our different talents, different challenges, and it's just about finding that right avenue for each of us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about a challenge? Have you had a big challenge in your career and how did you overcome?
So I I don't mean it just casual. I don't think there's been one big challenge. I
Mhm.
I think I've been fairly lucky so far. I think that, however, not one big challenge, but I'd say the kind of consistent challenge that I have is that desire, and we've kind of touched on it a bit. It's how I talk as well, but the desire to do everything while knowing that in order to do a few things well, you have to just do a few things. And so,
I laugh because I feel this.
yeah, that kind of appetite to contribute to how like talent and recruitment are just as good as they can be. And I think there's a never ending appetite for that I carry. And there's a never ending list of opportunity and possibility because it's all about humans. And so,
Mhm.
therefore, like every new candidate or every new event you go to or every new kind of project that a business brings in is made up of a new composition of people. So, I think my permanent challenge is like, how do I just kind of go laser focus. As well as being a great ideas person, I'm expected and should be a great manager, a great employee, a great collaborator, a great listener and learner, a great advisor to the leadership. I kind of need to be all of those things. I can't just be operating in the world of Isabel, doing exactly as I wish and what I find exciting. And so I think combining that personality trait and then being in a successful growing organization means that I need to like slow down, find those role models who do that really well and learn from them and be really laser focused. And so I write everything down. I have a million calendars and I have a lot of like using a lot of Slack checklists and
Mhm.
workflows. And I think also it comes back to that kind of people thing as well of who is able to help you clear the noise. And I have a couple of amazing colleagues who I can just, who are peers of mine in different parts of the business who I can just say like, I written down about 25 ideas for our 2025 planning. Can I bounce them around with you? So I mean, that's a lucky challenge to have to be brimming with ideas, but I would say that is, and I'm sure if ever my managers listen to this, then they will probably recognize that trait.
It's my favorite personally, lots of ideas. And you know what? Lots of ideas, that is the thing. When you have lots of ideas, you need that person that helps you just narrow it down into what's the best focus here. Like, all of these ideas, where do I actually go in? So you need to have that. I love this topic personally because focus is a big deal these days. And a lot of people are struggling with focus, right? And just being able to get in. You hear all the time ADHD. It's almost like everybody kind of has it now because of, I mean, and I don't mean to say that like flippantly. People really struggle with this
Yes.
ADHD. But what I've been reading is that even people who don't have that have been bringing on attributes of that because of really just how we are with our media and how we are, it's all snippets, it's all 30 seconds or a minute. And it's taking our focus away, our ability to focus for long periods of time is what I've been
Yeah.
reading. So
Yeah.
you mentioned writing things down. So what are some of the things that help you with this?
Yeah. I think it's the, yeah, writing. I have
Writing.
I have an insane amount of calendars. So using calendars to good effect. I am a pen to paper person. I've tried using the notes app and stuff, and I just so much prefer pen to paper. I think doing first, anytime there's something fairly big, like, it's 2025 planning season. So building presentations, or perhaps you're doing a look back on the year and trying to pull in lots of different data and tell that story, is do your first draft and then go to sleep, and then
Mm.
leave it for a day or two, get someone else in to look at it, and then hash it over. All of the lessons learned from back in university when you would just pull an all-nighter and kind of trying to avoid that ever happening in working life all of these years later. So yeah, always sleeping on a first draft and giving yourself the time and
I like
space to
that.
do a first draft. I'm good at my job, but never going to be as good as I can be if I don't actually give the time to do it and get things written down, and then say to someone like, "This is the first time I've spoken about this topic internally. Can I practice with you? I would like
Mhm.
to kind of, you can poke holes in things, and
Mhm.
or can you read that first draft?" And then honestly logging off. Again, we could have a whole episode on what well-being and balance means in the workplace, but I am someone who is a big believer in, if you are a passionate employee, working hard is no bad thing. And kind of jumping into being a team player, and which is a risky word, but being a team player and like contributing your best. And if you're enjoying something, then working hard is no problem. But I also think, like, you know, I have plans at 7 p.m. I'm off to meet a friend. Like, I will feel great friend and a great colleague if I actually log off and don't cancel those, and have a wonderful evening and really listen to them. And then I can log back in the morning and think, God, I had a lovely, happy evening. And now I'm even more ready to go. I think
Yes.
the myth of, not the myth, but the assumption that I'm just going to work until midnight and something good will come of it
Mhm.
is the
Mhm.
risk you want to have. So trying to avoid that habit building as well.
Oh, I think it's excellent advice. And this is actually studies have been done on this. And not only is it good for the work life balance, for your mental health and all of that, it actually is good for your work too. Because apparently, when we do this and we turn off and we go to the things, that's when we get a lot of the insights that will help us with whatever projects or so apparently we get a lot of insights that move us forward in our work when we take the time off and give it a little bit of a break.
And I think maybe that was covered in one of the HBR idea
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah,
Are we talking about the same one?
might be.
Might be. And going for a walk is another of my
Right. Yes. Same.
similar idea, where you're kind of
Mhm.
allowing yourself just to ruminate on a topic or a conversation. And maybe you are sending a message or a voice note to someone who can help you, but you're just not at your desk trying to just force yourself through something.
Yeah. So our message to everyone, it's okay.
It's okay. You could say yes to things, you could be a hard worker, but ask for help and slow it down, and it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I love this question because and I ask everybody it because I'm very passionate about the fact that we are being fed all the time without our permission. We are constantly being fed information and absorbing information that's coming at us. So I'm love to proactively feed my mind. And I love to hear what other people do to
Mm.
proactively feed theirs. So, is there anything that you've either read or watched or listened to that was a positive impact on your life that other people could benefit from reading, watching, or listening themselves?
Yes, I so much. As you say, when are we not absorbing interesting and sometimes just fun content? But I think there are a few things that I have really tapped into. If I start talking about fiction books, we won't end. So just read fiction, because it's a good, whatever you enjoy, read it. I think
I agree.
Armchair Expert podcast, which is it's out of the States, hosted by Dak Shepard and Monica Padman, who they've been doing it for 6, 7 years. They interview all the big celeb names as part of the kind of press trail, but they have a kind of sub series called Experts on Experts, where most of the guests in long form interview format, academics, scientists, psychologists, journalists, sports professionals, and coaches. And they've been going for 6 or 7 years. So dig into the archives and go on a long walk and just listen to a conversation with a psychologist talking about, someone who the interview called Gretchen Rubin, about what happiness is, or there was someone called Amanda Duckworth about perseverance and grit.
Mhm. Her book, yes.
Interesting.
Mhm.
The other thing that I occasionally dip into is a bit of kind of poetry stuff, but I saw a YouTube video of this young person in America, in New York, I think they are, called Fanta Bello. And they had just a recording on YouTube of this year. So it's available for everyone. And they had a poem called Redemption. And it was pretty powerful stuff about their own journey. And when you watch something and you listen to someone talk about their journey, which is nothing to do with your journey or your life. It's just kind of pretty mind blowing, I think, when you feel that you can relate. There's a British spoken word artist as well called K Tempest, who is amazing on that stuff as well.
K, can you say that again? K Tempest?
K Tempest, yeah. K
Okay.
A E, and then her surname Tempest. And yeah, work related HBR idea cast. I mean,
Great. I love, I've heard of the armchair one, but I actually haven't listened to it. I love the subset. I'm fascinated. I'm actually going to check that out. All
yes,
the other ones are new. I love it. I love being exposed to new things. So thank you.
that poetry via YouTube is a very exciting and entertaining rabbit hole.
I actually haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I'm super curious. I'm 100% looking up this redemption because I love a good poem that just, gives you those chills. It just kind of
That's
moves something inside of you. Yes.
amazing.
Check that out.
So,
This has been great. Thank you so much, Isabel. Before you go, I'm going to ask you one final question
hey,
because I'm always curious. I feel like we're born with superpowers. We also develop superpowers as we grow. And I'm curious, what's your personal superpower? Whether you were born or something that you grew into, what would you say yours is?
God, there's an inherent discomfort in telling yourself that you're super at anything, isn't there? I guess. I would. It's
So important to own.
it's full on. Okay, I'm gonna own it. I think a superpower of mine is my emotional intelligence.
Ooh, okay, tell me more.
I think I love all things people, as we've discussed over the past.
Mhm.
I like being someone in the room who can figure out this is how this person is motivated or stressed. And therefore, I can support, tap into that, hopefully help them. And that person over there actually is really interesting. They should meet. So, using emotional intelligence to hopefully make other people have a good time in life, find what they're passionate about at work through coaching, or help a friend out when they're struggling, or make someone laugh. But I think emotional intelligence, I remember saying to a coach once, like, oh, well, it's really easy to understand what someone else is feeling. And she said, it's not for everyone. So maybe that
Mm,
is, maybe what she was telling me is that that is my superpower.
yes. It's I find emotional intelligence to be one of the more underrated but most powerful superpowers.
Mm.
I mean, it is something that impacts life everywhere you go in a very positive way. And I'm curious because you mentioned reading fiction and I feel that my EQ is also one of my superpowers and I feel that a lot of it grows because of how much I read. Do you
Okay.
feel that that impacts your own understanding of people as well?
Yeah, that's a really cool way of looking at it. I think it does. I think it particularly because it's a bit like going on a long walk or something, it kind of just slows you down. There are very few things in life that we can do where you cannot do another thing. So walking is one, you could probably be listening to something, but broadly you have to look where you're going. You know, having a bath, another really good place to think and
Mhm.
contemplate, and reading. You literally cannot do something else when you are reading. Cooking is another one of my favorites. And so they're all slightly, I haven't cracked meditation properly. And I think reading and cooking are maybe the two closest things where you're concentrating just enough and you're absorbed just enough that you can feel kind of the rest of the world quietening and then it opens your mind up. So, yeah, I think I completely agree with that. And I think particularly reading books where they are not about me, a white woman in her 30s in a suburban setting. So anything that is going to take me out of my that kind of millennial
Mhm.
female voice, I think is what I'm drawn to. I just read Demon Cobberhead by Barbara Kingsolver.
Ooh,
Um,
I haven't read that.
oh
I have to
goodness.
check that.
That I mean it's not a kind of relaxing, it's a work of literary brilliance.
Mm.
That one was amazing. And Camilla Shamsi, who's a British author. She has a few brilliant, brilliant books about the kind of British, Central Asian, Muslim, Christian, political, social. It's really kind of how
Interesting.
all of those things intersect. Really, really brilliant stuff.
Oh, I'll check that out. Interesting. I agree. Reading books about different anything that's very different from your own experiences, it just adds to your own understanding and ability to put yourself in other people's shoes. I mean, it's very important. Before we go, I actually want to say something because you made a comment about meditation. And now I struggled with meditation myself for a very long time. Now I'm very passionate that everyone should try to
Okay.
meditate. And I say this because I always thought of meditation as simply the quieting of the mind, the breathing, like just sitting very still. And I've realized that there are so many different kinds of meditation that you can do, and you don't have to subscribe to one. So I only bring this up because one of my favorite ways of meditating is actually getting a guided meditation. So it's something where someone's talking you through visualizing this experience essentially. And I like to go for a walk. I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to this guided meditation. And it can be very profound and it's very helpful. So for people who might struggle with the being, quieting of the mind, just breathing, what have you, try guided meditation, go for a walk.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that tip. I love that. And actually, we have in our Milltown London office, I think it exists in our San Francisco, and we've just opened a kind of bigger and brighter office in New York as well. We have everyone brings in there's a kind of library basically. So it's as well our office managers choose wonderful things. And if we ever have speakers, we'll get some copies of their books as well. But generally it's also encouraged firmly for people just to bring in books and maybe go and have a nice cup of tea with a colleague and sit in that nice corner and
There you go.
walk with a colleague. It's so, so great. So combining thoughtfulness and walking and different versions of meditation in the workplace is, I think, a kind of cool thing for companies, whatever aligns to a company's set of values, like finding something out. And one of our co-founders is very kind of speaks very thoughtfully about the power of meditation as well, which I think is a great thing. So I will take
I
and his advice and give it a go.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that Milltown does that. I
Mhm.
mean, give me a room like that where I can go connect with some people. That would be
It's great. Something without a screen and without a table in front of you.
Yes, that sounds great. Isabel, thank you so much for joining me on the Career Wonderlist podcast. This has been wonderful. It's been so fruitful with all kinds of golden nuggets. I appreciate your time.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much, and for getting a UK voice into your American audience's ears. So I hope to spread the word.
Exactly. We need more voices. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Career Wanderlust podcast. If you find value in learning from others, give us a like and subscribe. If you're looking to grow your communications, marketing, public relations, or sales and biz dev team with the best talent and quickly, check us out at paradigmstaffing.com and submit a request. We are wishing you a most successful and fulfilling career. Until next time.